Here I present to you the last part. If you haven't watched the first part, the second part, please watch that. So here what we are going to do now, we are going to make a function to send a post from this front end, this React Native front end, to the back end, to Laravel. And we want Laravel to identify the back end, to identify the user that is sending the request. Okay, so I'll create a simple screen here. Let's go back to Laravel first. Okay, we need to create post model. Okay, right now we have only one model, which is user model. So we need to create a post model. We create a post model with migration files. So PHP artisan make model post, then -m to create a migration file for the post model. So I'll go to database migration. So you can see the migration files was already created here. So I need to structure it. Okay, I need a string. I'll call it title. Then I need a long text column. I will call it a description. I want to make it no label. If you don't know how to do it here, you can just do it from your PHP admin. You can do it from there, but it's better, it's sweet to do it here. So yeah, I'll put a tiny integer and I will call it the status. This is the status, so I can state my status according to how I want it. I can make the 0 pending and 1 approved post. Okay, so I'll put a default value, which I'll put 1 as the default value. Okay, let me change the default value to 0. Yeah, so I need to run the migration to add this to the table, to the database. Now let's check. You can see the post, you can see the column. We have the ID, title, description, status. So that is what we just created. Okay, so now we need to create the controller, the post controller. PHP artisan make controller. We are going to put the controller in our API folder, API / we call it post controller. This will be the name of the file. Okay, so our post controller has already been created. You can see it here. Okay, let's close all this. We need the API route and the post controller. Now, as you can see here, we have this route, this user route that is using this middleware auth. So you can only get requests from here if you are authenticated. Okay, so, but what we are going to do now, we are going to comment this out and create our own route for authenticated. We call it the authenticated route. That is, you need to be authenticated before you can send requests to that route. Okay, we call it route middleware. We are going to create a group to it. Group, we'll put it in group middleware. Then we are going to use the auth. Okay, so we write auth. This is the name for the middleware. And you might be wondering, where did I get this? I get it from the Santom documentation, check Laravel, search for that Phantom, you find it here. So you can see it here, the middleware auth Phantom. Okay, this is where you got it from. So if you don't understand it, where you can read the documentation where you'll find out. Okay, thank you. Let's continue. So we are going to put it in group so that any route we put under this, we'll be using this middleware. Let's put this anonymous function. Okay, that is it. So we are going to put our route under this now. We call this one create post. So before any request can be accepted here, the user need to be authenticated. So post, I'm going to use post because I'm posting data to this route. I'll put post create. And then I'll call the controller now, the post controller that we created earlier, class. Okay, so I'll call I have not created the method. Let me write it. I will call store. Now this store, now I will create the method later. That is the function. I will create it later in the post controller. So this is all we need. Let's go to post controller and create the method right there now. Public function store. So we are calling this store from the route. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, we validate the request that is coming, then we store it, then we return the response. Okay, so first let's get the authenticated user. We define user variable and we'll call it auth user. Now this auth user is just like a helper. Anywhere you call this auth user, it will return the authenticated user. Even here, even in the blade, so this return the authenticated user. Request, we are going to put all the requests in the request variable so that we can use it. Okay, so guys, here it is. Let's validate the request. Now we are not going to create a variable that we call validation rules. Now I believe that I create that in the first video so that you can understand. Now we are going to do everything once. Validation, we are going to use this validator from the facade. I don't know what is facade. Facade is just it's just a name for that continue this class method. I don't know. Facade, don't worry about facade. So we are getting this validator from the facade. So we make a request. We request all. We accept all the requests that is coming. Then we are going to write our validation rule now. It's just a arrays of data. So this one now will help us. The snippet will help us to predict what we are going to write in this validation. You can see that it predicts it. So title, the title, we need the title to be required. Okay, you can see it predicts it. Required. Let's give it a mean of 5 characters. Remember, if you don't post string, it's going to calculate it as number. So this description, let's put string to this string. Yeah, we want it to be string. So this description is required. We need it to be required here, and string. Yeah, string. So here is our validation and the validation rule. So we need to check if validation fails. We'll return a response as usual. If you haven't watched the first video, please try to watch the first video, and please, you can support us by subscribing to this channel. Chabas 001. I'll appreciate that. So we return the response first, status will first, then we return our message. The message we are going to put all the validation errors we get all from it. So get it from validation errors all. That is all. Okay, so now here, that is our validation. So let's test it. We need to test it with our postman, as I normally tell you to do. You need to test it with postman. Okay, so I'll create a new request. You put the route here, post create/create. That is the route. Then the body is raw JSON body. We need to use post, and I want to post empty data. Empty. Oh, don't forget to add this header, accept JSON, application.json. You need to add this header if you are using the postman. So you can see that we are unauthenticated. That is, we don't have the access to that route. Okay, so now I want to log in so that I will get the authentication token from the response that I got from the login route. I'll send it now. You can see that it returned this authentication token. We create this in our first video. So I'll copy this authentication token and I'll put it in the authorization bearer token. I'll put it here, paste it here. Now, anytime I send request to the server now, the server now know that this is the user sending this request. You can see that we are already in. It accept our request. Then it gives us this this validation that the title is needed and the description is needed. Okay, so that is all. This validation is working. So we need to install the data that we are that is coming now. So we create a new post. The title, we get the title get the title from the request title. Then post disk, that is the description. You get it from the request.descript. So we are going to send all this. Post save. I need to add the status. Give it the 1 to be active. Okay, now you can see if we let us return a response. Let's copy this and paste it here. Our message should be new post created successful. This will be our response message, and we need to return the post that we created. Post 20 from post. Okay, this will return the post. Okay, right. So now we need to set the status to true because it's true. the value should be true. Now if we send request and create post, now we will create post, but still our post doesn't have owner. Okay, so let's create a post. The title, I'm testing it with the post format before I go to React Native. Okay, so this is my title 1. And this is my description. So I'll send this request to our server now, our backend now. You can see the post created successfully, and you can see we have title. Let's create another post so that we have 2 posts now. Now this post that we are creating doesn't have owner. Okay, we are just creating the post, so we need to add owner. Now you can let's see this. If you check the post or the post table now, you can see that we have first post, second post, but our post doesn't have owner, so we need to create the owner. Let's go back to our migration files, post migration. Now we need to add a column. So this column, we are going to call this column user ID. So any user that is going to create the post will put the user ID. Now then our post will now have owner. User ID. It's an integer. I use an integer. So let's do a fresh migration to delete everything from our post, from our database, and recreate them. Recreate a fresh one. Okay. So now we now have user. We need to, in our post controller, we need to add the user ID, post dot user ID, which equals to the user ID. You can see that this user, we get this user, we created this user variable at the top, so we get this, which is from the authenticated user. Now that means authenticated user ID. So any user that send request come here, now the user ID will be the authenticated user ID. Okay, so that's all for that. We are here now. We need to register a new user, and it takes us here. What we need to do now, let's test it again. You can see the user ID is 1. So any post we create now, we have owner. You can use the relationship from the model, but for this video is not for beginner. Okay, you need to, before you get to this stage, you need to be able to work easily with the blade. Okay, so I'm creating a view that I can use to send post. I'll use this card at the bottom of this. I don't want to create a new screen. Okay, so let me create post. We are now in a React Native. Okay, I will add a margin button to shift it a little bit. Then I'll add the text input for the title and the description. Style. Okay, so I need to create a two states. One will be title. Set title. I'll use state null. Then the second one will be disk, which is the description. I'll set disk. Use state null. So we now have two variables that we can use. So the value here will be the title. Copy and paste this. Once change, we need to set the value. Set title. Yeah. So you can see we have our input. Let's copy this and paste this. Okay, so we are going to use other method here, another different type of style, another style. If you use this, it's going to work, and if you use the first one, it work. If you use this, it work. If you use this, it work. That is JavaScript for you. So set this. Let's create a button now and give it title. Create post. Okay, this will be the title of our button. Once you click it, it will send the request. So we are going to put on press to it. We have not created the method, so we call it create post. So this, we are going to create this function here now, this method now. I'm going to create it so that on user click on this button, it send the request from there. All right, so we are going to create a function. How do we call it? Arrow function. Async, because we are going to use await in the function. I call it function, I call it method. Yeah, that is still same thing, bro. So as usual, you need to check so that to stop the user from sending empty data. So we check it. If title is null or if description is null, we log this and return. So await, you need to post now. Here is the main part of this video. We are going to use ACO to post. Now ACO.post, because we are sending post request to the server, and the first thing is the route. Okay, let's copy the route from here. Yeah. You can just put your route here. Let's copy our route from here. Yeah, this is our base URL. Then now add our endpoint, which is create posted post/create. Okay, then the next thing here now is the data we are sending. We are sending the title and we are sending the disk. That is the two data we are sending. So the most important part is the header. So the next thing is the configuration file. So you do like this, and then we are going to add something to the header. Okay. So you can see the header, this is the headers. We now put all what we want to be in the header, we put it here. Okay, so the first thing we need to put in the header is authorization, and this authorization will be a bearer. So you write bearer and give space. Don't forget the space. Give space, bearer, space. Then we now add our authentication token. Okay, authentication token. Anytime you want to send the request to the server, you need to add this. Okay, so now this auth data, you know, we are getting this auth data from our context which we create. Anytime user login, we set this value from the screen to this context, so that we can use it anywhere. Okay, so we are getting our token from this context, this auth data state. Okay, so anytime you send a request to this server with this header authorization, now the backend Laravel will identify the user that is sending the request. Okay, now rest, that is after the response, you receive a response. We can log the response. So respond.data. If you are using ACO, you remember you need to .data to show the data. Okay, then you need to do cache here to, if you get error, so that you can log the error as usual. Now you might be wondering, why am I not adding accept application JSON application.json? ACO already does do this by default. Okay, this ACO, this package that we're using, already do that by in default. So now we need to register a new user and test this. We are logging, so let's create a post. Oh, I'm calling it title. Sorry, it's description. Create post. You can see the post was created successfully. You can see we log the post here, and the post has user. Okay, the post has owner. So if we send the post, let's set all those things to empty. Guys, if we send the rest, if the post successfully deliver, say send it back to empty. So that is how to send. If you check our database now, you can see that the post have user. You can see the first post, the user ID is 1. Then the last post, that is the second post user that I created, the user ID is 2. So any user that is sending request to this now, the ID will be there, so you can be able to identify the owner of the post. So this is the most important thing in this video: the header, authorization, bearer, auth token, to identify the authenticated user in your back end.